Hi, I'm Wakhile Xhalisa. You are watching From the Cape with Bass, hosted by Daniel Peterson.
Good day, everybody. Today we're here with great bass player Wakhile Xhalisa. Wakhile, can you tell me what your first musical experience was?
At home, my father basically used to play a lot of Bob James, Eric Gale,
Wow.
the Groove Washington. So I grew up listening. The guy used to play with Groove Washington before, Gary King, this bass player. So bass attracted me from that time, the groove, the way bass holds the music. For me, it was exciting. So I started to think about the bass. But I didn't really learn bass before I learned guitar.
Okay.
Because my father is a pen whistle player and the guitar also.
Wow.
He used to play from that time, with Keller Kids and all the old school pen whistle players. So the love of music, basically, it comes from home. Yes.
Wow, interesting, man. So why did you choose the bass guitar eventually?
Well, why I choose the bass, because we had these friends, we used to jam. A guy used to teach us also to play the guitar. So we were all playing guitar. There was nobody, it was acoustic wise, and there was nobody playing the background part as a bass player. That's where that drives me to play a little bit of bass on the acoustic to learn the bass lines. So start from this acoustic thing.
Okay.
Just to also to be a background instead of all playing the guitar,
Okay.
Interesting.
So tell me, did you go for lessons or you self-taught? What is the story there?
Well, I didn't really go for listening. When I tell you the truth, everything was more from listening. I picked up a lot of things from listening, and also a friend of mine used to play guitar. So there's also another guy, he gave me a lot of influence. His name is Ronan Pushula. A lot of people know he was a very good guitar. It was more like Eric Gale style, this. So this guy also helped me a lot to play, because it was always I was with him. So he was showing me some stuff. Somehow it was like that, but I get to learn music very, very late to understand the chords, this whole theoretical style, by also researching and just check how. But already I could play some stuff, but I didn't know the names, what I was doing.
Okay. But now today you know.
I had today, with Peter Gala and Rick Waga from Cameroon, is all school trained people, so they always share with me.
Okay.
And, they see the potential that I can do something, so they easy to say, okay, theoretical things are like this, and it's good people, as bass players.
Can you tell me about the bands that you played for, and albums, if you worked on any albums? Can you tell me about that, please?
Well, my first band I'd recorded, my first recording was a band from Lotus River. It was called Sons of Xhalisa. This is my first band before I left in 90s to go to Europe. This was a band, we recorded, the album was called Changes.
Wow.
With the Sons of Xhalisa.
Wow.
So that was like my first to be in the studio as a bass player, but I was still learning a lot. That I wouldn't say I would be a good, but I was learning that time. But yeah, we managed, we did one album. And then my way out to Europe, it was with a theater group, it was like a dance group, was based in Observer. It was called Pace Dance, something like that. So it was mix of African stuff, some ballroom dance, and some bit of those things. And we were three guys who were playing a sort of in between the set and playing a little bit for certain dance. This my first also to get introduced to African music a little bit, because the one guy was from Zanin, the Shangan tribe. They have their own style of thing. And then there was a guy, Sutu guy, Koleo Musala, marimbas. He used to play this a chromatic marimba. So they joined the guitar and the marimba. So they called me for bass for my first time, but because I was playing reggae all the time. So now for me to adapt to understand music, it was like a journey to get into African music.
Wow. From
that start. Then we went to France. We did England also with this project, this bass dance thing. It was my first time going out of South Africa as a bass player, so called.
So this instrument took you all over the world?
This instrument, that made my life, and try to change and see the world with this by just moving and playing for the people. For me, it was the biggest excitement, but also a lot of cultural exchange with different people. You know, because as when I grew up, my father, he used to talk a lot about Germany, my grandfather basically. I don't know, or he did work for some cars, some German cars, but always, I grew up, he talked a lot about Germany. It's so funny, I had to stay in Germany for a long time, in Berlin, after the wall came down. Remember there was this wall thing. For me, it was the biggest experience, man. Meeting people from Cuba, from Ghana, from everywhere, musicians. And we were doing this kind of music, which it was more like South Africa, but more like up in Zanini side. It was very interesting, and the welcome of the people with different music that you bring. We were at home. We talked until up to Prague, like the East Europe, Poland, those kind of places. Places I never know I would really reach in my life. Yeah, it was a very good
All because of music,
all because of music.
Wow, man.
I'm telling you.
Wow, this is so interesting. Can you tell me about the gear that you have? I see you have a nice 4-string, with some fancy pickup. I don't know what that is.
Okay, yeah, we have the 4-string Ibanez, and then with a cork, a module for bass sounds that you can change, and also have an overdrive. One button you can go to overdrive like a real rock guitar.
Wow.
This bass was played by the guy called Foley. He used to play with Miles, the 4-string guitar player that I saw also a concert of him in Paris. So a friend of mine, Andre Ngwaka, he was living in San Francisco for a long time, and he got hold of this guitar from the man. When he came to Cape Town, he presented me with this bass, which is I also love, because myself, I had a 5-string before, was also a guy in Germany, he built this bass, was called Bass Collections. It looks like a Ibanez thing, but apparently he was working for Ibanez, but he broke up, so he built this 5-string and with battalion pickups. And yeah, before that, I had a Fender, which is a friend also just gave to me, also like that, because before I didn't manage to buy bass. It was a problem in South Africa. My first bass, how I bought, there was a shop in town, Long State, was called George Kuba, a very little music shop, that was it. They had this cheap bass, was called Fame. Very bad. That's first bass I managed to buy by working for Cape Times in the morning.
Okay.
To sell Cape Times.
Wow.
To manage to buy, because my parents couldn't buy a bass for me. You see, so my first bass was very bad bass. I didn't know nothing, but I had a bass to play with. The action was beat up, and sometimes you don't know those things. But this bass, it was the first electrical bass I had, was 4-string also.
I see you string it with flat ones.
Yeah, with the flat ones.
Both basses are with flat ones.
Exactly.
Why do you do that?
For me, with flat ones, bass strings, the sound is so warm, and it gives you a very not really like a fretless, but it gives a long sustain on your whatever you do. So for me, it's always special with reggae also. So I have a deep sound and warm sound. This is my lovely string. I'll never. One friend also from South Africa, a guy called Vianney, but he lives also in New York for a long time.
Vianney Wakhile.
Yes, he also was talking about these strings also. He's also very in love with this string. It's so funny that we also talk, and we talk about this thing. The same thing, how we feel about these strings, they're the best. For me, I'm always gonna stay like this.
Wow,
the flat strings.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting, man.
It is beautiful, man. Okay, do you have any advice for young up-and-coming bass players and musicians out there?
Well, my advice is good for the young guys to check all music. Don't stay on one music. Sometimes it also can limit your musicality. It's good to be open to music. First, it's very good thing to know one style, but basically be open as a musician. Because if you get somewhere and they will play something different, which is as a bass player, you will get a task to play bass as the way they think. As an African person, you can be able. But if you don't, it's a big problem. So yeah, I get to learn this also, that music, you have to be all rounder. Just try everything that you can. Have a groove with it as a bass player. You get to work everywhere.
Wow.
You get to work.
Okay. Thank you so much for making time for me.
Thank you very much, man.
From the Cape of Bass. God give you a journey, man.
Thank you, Brad.
I appreciate this.
I'm very humble to get into this.
this video with your fellow bass community. Please follow from the Cape Bass on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you so much.